everyone. This is one last message from Michèle de Gastyne, President of Musique Universelle Arc, Ciel, MUAC in Paris, France. Today, April 30th, marks our 5th and last MUAC conference, celebrating International Jazz Day 2021, its 10th anniversary. So it's time to express our thanks to so many people and do a wrap-up of what we've shared in the event called Let's Build the Culture of Peace, Let's Change the Era. Through our ever-present spirit of co-creation, our objective was to reflect together on how to create a new Renaissance period and literally contribute to a wave of transformation for a society not based on hard power or violence, but on a consciously built culture of peace. As there are many ways to approach this, we decided to diversify speakers and artists each week, examining different aspects of this vast subject. On April 2nd, all was launched by our friends in Lille, France. Composer and pianist Stéphane Orens and his two groups of jazz musicians, the 10 Worlds and the Stéphane Orens Jazz Trio, took us on a tour of rich musical sensations, including Petals in the Wind, The World of Humanity, and an homage to the great Kenyan woman Nobel Peace Laureate Wangari Maathai for her determined fight against deforestation in the name of progress. On April 9th, we bathed in some history of peace cultures, and we began with the ancient Mandingo civilization and its mandate charter, thanks to Guinean griot Kahamba Diobate performing the composition of his musical partner Michèle with Oh Mercy, No Mercy, Hymn à la Vie, Blues Paradoxal. We changed register, and Martine Levy-Guggenheim gave us a fantastic overview of institutional efforts to create peace cultures in modern history, starting from the 19th century. Efforts which ultimately didn't protect the planet from two devastating world wars. And then onwards to the creation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the UN system. Martine then spoke of UN resolutions and other efforts like the Seville Statement or important events in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, to redirect our world toward peace and away from war, with the encouraging observation that although it's long, human mentality is slowly moving in the right direction. Then, in contrast to large institutional projects, Martine told us of the homeless girls now off the streets in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, who now stay in the school she founded. Martine, who by the way has a long history of engagement in the Girl Scouts and Guides movement, concluded on the importance of intercultural exchanges and the sense of service these youth are learning as they give back to the community. She calls them the real peace messengers of the future. Then, our April 16th event gave us an opportunity to reflect on how music and the arts can hugely contribute to human rights education and therefore peace culture building. Spanish-born Pedro Aledo, who has been in France already 60 years, thrilled us speaking about his human hymn project and performing his composition Considerando, based on the preamble of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, with two musician friends, Maurizio Carbone and Michele Colucci. Finally, we saw Pedro with youth from many European countries at the European Parliament in Strasbourg, singing the melody of Beethoven's Ode to Joy, but with the lyrics of the first Article number 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In fact, there was nothing. Our fourth of 5 events on April 23rd helped us see how poetry can be used to create peace cultures, with the presentation and a poem, La Paix, of MUAC's poet-in-residence, Marie Toussaint. Her introduction helped us understand the cultural and historical references in her poem, and it was enriching to hear her speak on emotional and spiritual processes of writing poems through her experiences. Then we witnessed the tale-weaving capacity of Malek Bukerti, who took us on a virtual voyage through continents and epochs, showing how tales and stories can serve as inspiration, particularly in the challenging times we are now living. Malek demonstrated how these human patrimonies can be applied in our daily lives as we look for ways to build peace cultures. challenging all of us to be modern-day Don Quixotes, immune to insidious fears. Finally, tonight, April 30th, our last in the series, Let's Build the Cultures of Peace, Let's Change the Era, it is what you've just watched, the presentation in English of philosopher and author Lou Marinoff, who introduces his second presentation, a montage which he narrates in French related to his upcoming 3-volume historical novel entitled Fernando, the Beethoven of the Guitar. We learned that Fernando's 19th century real-life dramas brought him to Paris for escaping from Ferdinand VII's tyranny against liberal thinkers. As a composer and guitarist, Fernando's artistic life took him all around Europe and to Moscow, where he was at the top of an incredible career as a court composer. However, once again, politics changed all that, and his liberal thinking got him chased from Moscow, and he ended his life naturally in Paris. Here I'd like to cite part of Professor Marinoff's presentation, which impressed me a lot. And I quote, "For those of us who work to build cultures of peace, the Age of Enlightenment cannot be regarded solely as a singular turning point in history. For just as the Earth continues to revolve daily on its axis, so every day of our lives must become a new turning point in the rebirth of Enlightenment values and the re-enchantment of the world. Liberty must constantly be safeguarded against tyranny. Equality must continuously be asserted over injustice. Fraternity must ceaselessly be championed above hostility, and art serves these purposes surpassingly well." Unquote. Our 2021 last Jazz Day artistic moment was what you just saw, the lovely improvisation of former prima ballerina Kasumi Sanada, who interpreted an extract from Fernando Soares' composition, Fantasy in C minor, played on guitar by Professor Lou Marinoff himself, a track from his CD, Classical Voyages. But before finishing, it's high time to express gratitude to each person involved with our event this year, artists, speakers, supporters, cameramen and women, videastes, and well-wishers and audience. All of you were just amazing, and I cannot find words to express my profound appreciation correctly. It would simply not have been possible without each one of you. And also, I'd like to say a warm thank you to the staff of Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz, and particularly Will Ramsey and Michèle Menzel, and Mr. Hancock himself, because of their truly warm support. And finally, my respect for the succession of women general directors of UNESCO who worked with Mr. Hancock to make this fantastic Jazz Day movement a reality. MUAC promises to support the values of intercultural dialogue and human dignity all along the year, and we look forward to another Jazz Day in 2022. Let's remember what Professor Marinoff said in his speech, that the story of Fernando is a story of us all, and his combat is a combat for all epochs. And it is up to us to create value of our circumstances for ourselves and for others in order to leave this world a better place for future generations. Until we meet next year for Jazz Day 2022, please take very good care of yourselves and don't stop creating.